This is episode 263 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dion Morales, and today I'm joined by Marcel. Time to unpack the shield, Manzano.
So the official rule set for XTC is out, and so it's time to get started with that jazz again.
Will, back to the drawing board, Hagewood.
Ooh, so many lists, so little time.
And Ryan, time for version 2.5.3.14. Staniszewski.
Yeah, I want my slice of pie while I do all my research now.
All right, so unless you've been living under a rock, or maybe you just haven't been able to dive right in, maybe you've been disconnected from the internet, brand new changes happened Friday midday. I was literally driving to St. Louis, getting ready for the Midwest Scrub Down. We had an event down there that we streamed over the weekend, which we'll talk about a little bit. And I started getting text messages, and I was like, this seems important. Stopped at the gas station, took a peek, because I noticed there were Discord messages, and my car doesn't read Discord messages. They only do regular texts. And then all of a sudden, I see all these updates. I'm like, oh my goodness, what is happening? And I still had quite a few hours of driving left to go, so I didn't get to really take a good look until today, and I'm excited to really talk about these, talk about the implications, not just what they are. But yeah, we'll get into that here in a moment. This episode brought to you by our GSP patrons. Remember, the GSP patrons are the ones that allow us to do things like travel and bring you guys live X-Wing coverage when we do. Before we go too far, I want to talk about two things. The Midwest Scrub Down. That happened this weekend. I want to give a huge shout out to, number one, the Midwest Scrub Cast. They're a fellow X-Wing podcast out there. They are from the St. Louis area, and they ran a great event. Absolutely great event. It was extended. I know some people were like a little maybe wary of extended, and I think the idea there was like, hey, nobody has done it, so why not? And it worked out okay. E-Wings were the most highest performing extended ship that were there, but we saw some different things. We saw Phantoms, we saw the Resistance Bomber on stream, quite a few different little flavors, but also people just brought standard lists as well, because standard fits in extended as well. The winner of that event was who, Marcel?
The viewers.
Not only the viewers, but
Tommy Adams. So Tommy Adams taking out fellow Team USA team member Doug Howe in the final.
That's right. So Tommy Adams ends up getting the W. Congratulations to him. And yeah, it was pretty cool to see Team USA, on top there. And always, gotta be proud.
I wish there was like one extra day of hype between like knowing what the final was and the final happening, because of the fact they're both Team USA, you could have done a whole like Team Iron Man, Team Captain America with like Tommy versus Doug.
I like it. That could have been cool. Yeah, not quite enough time to do the the Photoshop work there, but it was great. I was very, very happy with how it went. A good turnout as well, and it's probably something that that we're going to continue to go to as long as it fits in the schedule. But I do want to take a second, and I realize I'm not logged into TTT. I want to go ahead and just give you those top two lists. I'm attempting to give you those top two lists. I cannot right now, but if I'm remembering correctly, Tommy Adams had AP5, Luke Skywalker, Corran Horn, and Ezra Bridger TIE Fighter, Proton Torpedo, Luke, and Corran. Ezra had K2SO on there in the thick of it. We actually saw him use that jam action during the final to great effect, and then AP5 held on to Leia. A lot of times you see that tech switched between AP5 and the Ezra Bridger TIE Fighter, and the idea when we got to talk to Tommy a little bit about it, the idea was like, hey, Leia's more valuable to me, and Ezra ends up being more in the thick of it. So if I lose Ezra, I don't lose Leia, is the idea there. And then Doug had a very similar list, but kind of like the standard version of that. We had Luke, Wedge. Remind me, boys. Luke, Wedge.
I got pulled up here. Shower Bay and Hobby. So Shower Bay and the Arc.
Yeah.
Yes. With Ursa Wren and the Child. Hilarious combination where Child lets people lock you. Ursa Wren gives you locks when people lock you. So very, very interesting there.
Mm-hmm. And for those of you who don't know, Tommy Adams is Mega Silver in the chat. So if you want to give him a congrats at Mega Silver, woo woo, congratulations there. But yeah, just wanted to talk a little bit about that, the Midwest Scrubcast. I know that there was a little bit of feels bad that all this new changes dropped on the Friday before their event, because they basically they gave a deadline up to Wednesday. They're like, we know that there might be some changes coming. Came out on the Friday, so we didn't get an opportunity to play with that. But this upcoming weekend at the Richmond Open, Will's going to be streaming it. They will be using the latest points, scenarios, erratas, all of it. So we will get to have some games of that recorded and streamed for you guys live. Super excited for that. I believe also at the same time, the Firestorm Firecast will be streaming from the UK Game Expo, and they are also using those new rules. So plenty of content out there for you guys with these new rules. Very excited about that. And let's see, was there anything else? And last but not least, the Galactic Championship. Initially, we were supposed to have tickets out and available for you guys to buy this last Friday. I found a bug in the system, and I've had to go and redo a bunch of things. This Friday is going to be my new goal to go ahead and push that out for you guys. I've already posted prizes. Everybody knows the dates. It's just actually the logistics of getting your ticket. One question that's coming up is, do you need a ticket for the Flight Academy, which is the free 2-round event? And the answer is no. You just have to sign up on TTT when those links go live, and that is it. That's all you need for that. But friends, it is time to go into it. We have a bunch of updates. We got scenario updates, base rules changes. We have some erratas. We got some changes to the ban list. We have some points changes, and we're going to go in that order, because I think that's the best way to unfold this origami of changes. So let's go ahead. Let's hit up some of those scenario changes. Okay. Oh, did I accidentally put my notes for these changes in the wrong episode?
Probably. We were waiting with anticipation, those notes. I see a bunch of them now, though.
They're right underneath. They're right underneath. Oops, I erased last week's notes.
Well, that's okay. I gotcha. There you go. Now they're in the same place.
All right.
Cool. While you're here, I wanted to mention that when you described how you found out about everything during your travel to Scrubcast, you literally embodied the GIF that is guy walking into a room holding pizza and everything's chaos and on fire.
That's pretty much. We started the stream and was like, what? What has happened? All right. Yeah, so it is a ton of changes, and we want to start with the scenario changes. The biggest change that applies to every single one of the scenarios is that scoring for the crates or the satellites, claiming, all of that can only be done starting in the second round. And I want to start by talking about that. Let's not even worry about anything else. why? And I would like to know what are your speculations as to why you like it, you don't like it. Let's go ahead and start there. Will?
I got a simple one. The difference in a ship who has speed and one who does not was very apparent from the beginning. We would always say, like, if you like ADAs, A-wings, interceptors, things that could boost and then move, or decloak and then move, were so valuable because they could score objectives turn one. Without being able to score the objectives, a ship like a Torrent or a B-Wing, who is going to go 3 forward and then 3 forward as their fastest maneuvers, to finally hit the objectives round 2. To me, it's not that they needed to point out then fast ships, but taking away that round 1 usefulness. Being able to score those objectives. I mean, would there be any other reason other than kind of nerfing the extremely fast ships?
I would think that on top of that, I mean, if we're going just based off of the feedback, if feedback was listened to, which I assumed it was, would be also the complaint. I think mostly across the board that the games were too short, 3, 4, 5 rounds on a lot of these. And this is a way to your point, kind of balance things out between ships that can, I would say 3 different things. One of them is balance things out between ships that can like boost 5 forward and, lists that are built to get 3 or 4 objectives in round 1 versus the ones that are trying to jockey for, like, go a little bit slower and then maybe pounce turn 2. Second is to extend the rounds by both just not giving away free points in turn 1, but also if you're evening out the ships that can go out and grab objectives to the ones that don't, you're evening the field a little bit, so you're not going to end up with like a 4-1 anymore. You're probably going to end up with a 2-2, 2-3 type of situation because both ships are already towards the center of the board. And then for me, I think the most importantly is I don't know. I mean, you guys have noticed the reason I didn't go, and well, there was multiple reasons. There was personal reasons why I didn't go to Scrubcast, but another one was I was just bored, and the part that was making me bored about the 2.5, that I just didn't want to play anymore. I played the Kyber Cup games, and that's it. Was that every single non-chance engagement game started with at least one side of the board going 5 forward. And it was like, I'm tired of playing a game where it's set up across the board and you 5 forward. And it was just, it felt like Groundhog Day. So I think that it's for the first 2 reasons, but for me personally, why I like it is because now I don't have to be the one doing 5 forward, or I don't have to worry about my opponent doing 5 forward. If they're doing 5 forward, is because they're trying to set up some type of attack. They're not because they're, because that's what the objective calls for. So that's, I mean, I like a lot of the changes. It's probably the one that this one and a couple of the other scenario changes are the ones that got me excited to want to play and see if some of those things that were making me bored are solved. Right?
So after, I don't know if you guys gotten any games in. I've gotten about 3 so far, just trying things out. This is probably, out of everything we're going to go over, and I know we're on literally only the first thing, this is the single biggest change.
And that's why I put it first.
Entire thing.
That's why I put it first.
Like the immediate pace change, where, like Marcel said, not everyone's trying to gun it for objectives because objective scoring starts round 1. I played a game, myself and an opponent that I played against, that both had somewhat formation-ish, swarmy, old school style ships that like don't want to spread out the entire time and fight. They want to kind of stick together. They had Howl Runner, Iden, and a couple ties. I had some Vultures. That whole extra turn gave me time to get to a place to set up and start moving my, like, because even on turn 2, when you can start picking up objectives, there are definite cases where you're already fighting. Like, because you're trying to get in position for those objectives, then you really have to make the decision, am I going to go and do the scenario action or be at this objective spot when the fighting is like almost already here? Or maybe the fighting's not going to be there as quickly as I've so far experienced, and things are going to evolve into maybe a little bit more waiting game. You know, sometimes it may be right to wait a turn just to get yourself in a slightly better position in the long run for the game. As we saw in the previous iteration, that didn't tend to go too well. Like, once if one person starts like claiming all the points, it will rack up quick and the opponents have to do something about it. But even just that one extra turn has given a lot of archetypes that we used to see in the past that seemingly disappeared or didn't see a lot of play right now, being those more formation-centric lists. High ace type lists, where sure, we saw plenty of ace type ships in this, but normally it was ace, a single ace or two plus a bunch of other stuff to go to objectives. Well, I've seen plenty of people trying out even just triple ace style. I mean, they're finding out that maybe there's some issues in certain objectives that, you know, we'll get to later, why salvage is a lot more difficult for repositioning ships to do that objective now. But this, just the one round is huge. And another small thing that it fixes that a few people, like, for in-person play had issues with, not having to worry about if your 5 straight hits middle objective or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I used to think, even if you could just stop the middle objective, like in the beginning of the game, just put a fuse marker on it and say, just this one cannot be touched until second turn. They just made all of them.
They're just like,
And then,
we're sweeping. Just like, nah, we ain't going to deal with it.
And so far, I think it's a nice wrinkle. I think you could still see plenty of ships that worked in the past iteration work now. But you're going to see more, maybe more variation, or at least more of what we used to see be viable. Formations that a lot of people couldn't really do. Like, they had to spread out. So you had to find generally individual things that had speed or had the ability to close with very self-sufficient modifications. Now things building up on each other, whether it is in tight proximity or the loose formation of some type, can play well. They could, instead of trying to reach out and get this objective, reach out, get this objective, and I got to get to turn 1 because otherwise I'm going to be behind, get in position and then do the board sweep. Do your joust on board sweep and see see who lives after that.
Yeah, I am just being able to see some more variation in openings, I think, will be big. Because I remember that was one of the concerns we saw right away was like, man, I don't feel like I get to, like, have that look in my opponent's eyes and then make a decision type of thing. You just kind of had to go for it. Like you said, 5 forward, zoom, and see what happens. Now, in addition to no second round scoring for the initial, in addition to scoring for satellites and crates starting in the second round, you also, in that first round, don't have access to scenario actions, is the other part. So in this case, right now, we're talking about Scramble and we're talking about Tow. Those two specifically, you can't even do it. So with those two specifically, we're going to get to some other small changes that happened. Just you are not allowed to interact at all with the scenarios until that second turn, the end of that second turn. So very, very interesting there. So let's go ahead. Let's go one scenario at a time. Assault on the satellite array is probably the easiest one to explain. There are no changes besides the fact that you don't score until the second round.
I'm not sure. Which one is assault on the satellite array?
Zone control.
Zone control.
Oh, okay, got it.
Be
No
around an
action.
area. No action.
The one without an action. That's not chance engagement.
Yeah. So, nothing, no changes there. Chance engagement. This is where there's a little bit of a wrinkle. You want to go ahead and give me that, Marcel?
Yeah, so with that one, both players earn a mission point each player who has I'm going to rephrase it. Each player who has a ship within the range 2 of the center of the board, which is the objective marker, from range 0 to 2, gets a point. So if one player has it, gets a point. If both players have it, they both get a point. If only one player is contesting the satellite, you get your point, and then you get an extra point. Basically, you're stealing your opponent's point. You can just look at it like they're always going to give out 2 points if somebody's there. Either you splitting it between the two of you, or you're taking them both.
And a reminder, chance engagement is the just destroy each other objective. So let's talk about some of the repercussions of having this in there. Out of all the scenarios, we know that when it came to game length, chance engagement was always the longest because essentially it was just a dogfight. So they've increased the clock, right? It's going to go a little bit faster, maybe to match more of the pace of the other scenarios. Thoughts on that, Ryan?
Yeah, I think that's great. Everyone I've talked to, I haven't had a chance to play the new chance engagement or the updated one, but everyone who I've talked to said it feels much nicer. It follows along kind of what the objectives were. Not before, but like they're more in alignment. Like they're all going to be closer to similar game length. It doesn't feel so jarringly slower than all the others. Granted, the other ones a lot of people felt were too fast, and as we've mentioned, you can't score until the second round now. So I think they're kind of getting closer to balancing the weights on all sides to where it should represent a similar game length and not just be like, oh, this is the chance engagement round. I guess I hope for a lunch break so I have time between my next game or not.
Right. Exactly. So
question.
Answer.
So the no scoring mission points, does that count also for chance engagement?
Well,
or is that like across the board everything, or is that just for...
That's for everything. Now we're talking about mission points. If you kill a ship in round 1,
no,
you still get the points for that.
Like the center ones, So
the
center ones,
it's still start of second round.
Okay.
For everything, todito. All right, now let's get into the last 2 scenarios that have some more detail in there, some more changes. Go ahead and hit me with that salvage mission, Will.
All right, so salvage mission, of course, you got to wait until round 2 to do that tow action. But in addition to that, there's now new restrictions on what you can and cannot do with while towing a cache. The main thing is that you cannot have any cloak tokens. If you are cloaked, remove them. If you try to cloak, you can't. Or gain a cloak token. No cloaking while caching or while towing. They've also changed it now to where you cannot do boosts, rolls, in addition to the slam actions. That also would refer to... guess is talk for later on, but I assume that would be your ailerons maneuvers, or I already said it. Ailerons boost now as well.
Right.
I want to backtrack that a little bit. The wording on this says perform barrel roll action, boost action. It
does say the word action on there.
Ooh, it does say actions.
Specifically on the new ailerons for the Reapers and the Strikers.
Spoilers.
They don't say it's an action.
Right.
Okay.
Spoiler, by the way.
It's a
I just want to
boost,
clarify before we get too far.
in
It
general.
just says boost flat, no action. So
Okay.
similar to N1 Anakin, who can barrel roll but not perform a barrel roll action.
Interesting. Okay.
Those are the cases where you can do those actions because they're not specifically worded as actions. You perform the thing without performing the
Interesting.
action.
Okay. And from what I understand, you can now do advanced maneuvers while towing. They've taken off that restriction.
And also the coordinate restriction.
Yes, that was the other thing. So you can do stops, reverses even, which is, you're going to jackknife, you're going to jackknife towing. But anyways.
You can side slip again.
You can side slip, yeah. K-turn, any kind of advanced maneuvers you can think of. It still obviously costs an action to pick up, so that coordinate's going to be very helpful for the round you do pick it up, or if you happen to be able to take, say, focus and evade or calculate and evade, some combination of the two could be advantageous, but no longer can you just start towing and then fly off into the sunset.
Yeah, five straight boost barrel roll. 5 straight boost barrel roll.
Yeah, never gonna see me again. Goodbye. I'm gonna take this with me. Or as we see later on, they've the reduction in like cloaking and also the options for regeneration have really reeled in the abuse that you could see in the Salvard submission. There was no changes to the taking a crit, though. If I am not mistaken, all that stayed the same. Take a crit, drop the crate, cash, whatever.
Yep.
So yeah,
I do think as a design philosophy, when you couldn't do advanced maneuvers, that just meant you were never incentivized to turn back around and start shooting at your enemies, right?
Yep.
If you were in a case where you
Exactly.
wanted to K-turn, you literally could not. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to K-turn, it's going to drop it for me. No, a lot of people thought, no, you just can't. So by having those reposition actions available, people just left and like, oh, I'll get my point. Instead of like actually turning around and fighting more. Well, now they swapped it, which I think is really good.
Yep.
agreed.
Alrighty, and then we have Scramble the Transmissions. What changed here, Ryan?
Well, the biggest one is we only have 3 satellites, not 5 anymore. A lot of people felt that this scenario, once you started just claiming, and if anyone just held on to a bunch, the points racked up really, really quick. So specifically, when you place these 2 in the place obstacle step, after you have found your middle satellite, then you start with the first player. The players take turns placing the remaining 2 satellites at range 3 of the center satellite. When a player places a satellite, it must place it at range 2 to 4 of their opponent's board edge, which I think is a really good choice. When I was trying to build custom scenarios, it was when in doubt, have your opponent do the thing for you so you can't abuse it for yourself.
Right.
So probably what it's going to do is we're going to get that little shallow diagonal where we're going to be like, all right, I'm going to put mine on your side closest to me, and you're going to put yours on your side, on my side closest to you, type of thing. But it's going to be more of like, how close do you want it to the middle type of thing? Like, if you're a list that wants things fighting in a tight area, you're probably going to want to put that as like close to the range 2 barrier as possible on the side. If you don't want things close together, want it spread out and force your opponent to split when they don't want to split, you want to put one out as wide as you can. And then you don't roll anymore for claiming. It's just, you claim it. That's it. Done.
This is
Easy.
mine.
That does feel better for anyone who's ever been in the situation of, I'm going to claim, I'm going to try and get this point to get back, and I did my plan, I did all the things, and then you roll a blank. My only concern about this is the higher initiative ships now just guaranteed, like, as long as they land and get their action in the area, they're always going to have that advantage. So, I don't know. We'll see. I think it's still a wrinkle that could be an issue where higher initiative ships just automatically have a really big advantage, even further because it's not randomized anymore. Not randomized, but has a chance to fail. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I think they kind of balance. I look at Scramble and Salvage, and they're kind of like opposite ends of each other. Salvage generally favors the lower initiative, while Scramble, while it may favor the higher initiative, because there's now only 3, like it's not as detrimental. You know, if the clock is not going to go as fast on you, at least.
Yeah, and in my previous experience with Scramble, there'd be like one big joust, and then everybody would split up and find objectives. Like, they're like, okay, time's ticking. Like, we gotta
go
rally. Yeah, we gotta go go get that one. I'll get this one. You find, see if you could roll on that one. But so I really like this change. It keeps the fight going. It actually is encouraging fighting around these instead of splitting off to just go grab objective points.
The other thing I'm thinking with this second turn is for Scramble, Salvage, and even Assault on the Satellite Array, but mostly these two, it's going to create a situation, almost like a game of chicken with you and your opponent. Because you could choose to be like, you know what? I'm going to use my first turn, literally, to just stay on my board edge, right? I'm just going to kind of set up sideways. I'm going to do the Marcel opening, okay? Wait it out. I'm on turn 2, grab my stuff, and then go, because now I'm controlling my side. Or you can say, listen, I think my opponent's gonna slow roll here. I'm gonna try to catch him, and you use that additional turn to to maybe catch an opponent's ship off guard, get a flank. I think the additional turn will allow players that want to win by destroying ships. I think we're gonna get more games that end due to destruction and scenarios, rather than just like, yeah, no ships died, and we only did scenarios. Even just a little bit, I think it could be pretty cool. Now, as for base rule changes, okay, that's the scenarios. That's what's changed there. There's a few tweaks that have been made to make things just a little bit cleaner. I'll go ahead and start with the first one, range 0 attacks. At Adepticon, this question came up, and we talked about it before, where it's like, well, while attacking at range 0, if your ship is touching at range 0, but my attack arc is because I'm at an angle and I have some type of weird turret, could that be considered range 1 because that weapon isn't touching? They're just like, no, stop it. Stop. You know what you're doing. Stop doing it. All right? If your ship is in contact, it is range 0, end of story. Okay? It is range 0. So that's the first part that they clarified. That's how it's been ruled in all the tournaments that I've been a part of and have judged and things, but now it's set in stone. It's in the rule book. And the other thing that got modified here is, while performing a primary attack at range 0, the attack dice cannot be modified. That's been there before, except there's an exception now, by the defender. So an example would be something like, if you have Luminara, you can use Luminara's ability now to adjust a hit to a focus, or a crit to a hit. Or if you have M9G8 on an enemy ship and you have them target locked, you can use M9G8 to force them to re-roll an attack die.
Wait. How is that worded specifically?
While performing a primary attack at range 0, the attacker's dice cannot be modified except by the defender.
So if an M9G8 ship is not defending, then that is not the defender. So you cannot. So if let's say Poe is getting shot by a ship, and Just Pava has M9G8 on the ship that's attacking.
Correct.
Just Pava cannot force.
Yes, that's correct.
Because Just Pava is not defending. So it's.
I get what Marcel's saying. That is very specifically a good call out. And then if anything works,
Luminara, same thing. If Luminara is not the one defending, Luminara cannot change that.
Right.
Yeah. Granted, when you mentioned Luminara, I'm like, Luminara's ability doesn't work if they're bullseye anyway. And I'm pretty sure range 0 is probably bullseye in like 90% of the range 0 attacks.
Well, the 10% where it's
well,
not.
there's turrets. You guys turrets.
I know. Yeah, but which means no more force.
Yes.
Purple, bad.
Yeah, that is the thing that got taken away from this rule is that the force no longer gets the exception of being able to push through extra damage here or being able to modify at range 0. Nothing. You can't do it. And I think what was everybody's reaction when they put that in? Well, I'm just gonna take things with the force and just slam into you, and turns out range 0 doesn't matter for me, right? There's not a penalty there. So I think it's a really good decision by AMG there to the force will always be good, but it does reduce the value a little bit by not allowing it to be used at range 0. Marcel, let's go ahead and talk about ion changes.
All right. Base rule changes, range 0 attacks, ion changes. Ions and locks. A ship that is ionized cannot acquire or maintain locks. When a ship becomes ionized, it breaks all locks it is maintaining. So
let's clarify what this means, because there's a lot of people who don't know how words work.
So William has me target locked.
Yes.
William is initiative 4. I am initiative 6 because I am Captain America. And I shoot him with an ion. His lock, well, if it hits, his lock on me breaks. Yeah, he throws a shield. Anyway, the lock breaks. So basically no more lock. And if he has R3, no more both locks.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's become almost a pseudo jam then. If you can target specific ships that will always try to take locks, munitions carriers specifically, right? Come to mind, that could be a way to jam them, in quotation marks there, to take away their modifications with an ion weapon, which I do think is very interesting. A lot of talk about ion torpor wedge, being able to come in and just take away your locks, because he should be able to realistically put 2 damage through on 4 dice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that is that's a big change. And so that is the pro ion thing that happened, but there also was, for those of you who love ioning, thinking like, oh man, you're gonna be out there just doing 1 forwards and losing all your locks. I'm gonna wreck you because I love ion. A little bit of a change. What's changing there, Will?
So when you are ionized, you still will set a dial in the planning phase, as you have always since Hobby and Cutthroat came out. You still set a secret dial. But now, when you would perform the ionized maneuver, you're going to flip that maneuver dial face up and execute an ion maneuver with the same direction shown on the dial, which I think is very, very interesting as well. But you are limited to a blue speed 1 bank or 1 straight. If you dialed in a stop maneuver, you're just going to go straight. It has to be left or right to get that 1 bank bearing. You also, as always with the ion maneuver, you can't change this at all. For if you got some fancy ability that would let you do that. In this case, though, If a rule or ability references an ion ship's revealed maneuver, it references that ship's face-up dial. Instead, things like Rick, Contrail, why is it all Republic? Dene. Those people love looking at your dials.
They were the ones that started the whole revealed dial thing.
Right.
They were doing it before it was cool.
Yeah, because there is a big difference between the dial assigned to you that you reveal and a dial that is face up on your pilot card. For if you somehow could remove that ion in the system phase or in activation somehow, things like Hobby's ability. I'm trying to think of what was the other one. Cutthroat. You could somehow remove your ion token. You'd need to be able to do some sort of maneuver. So you put that secret dial down anyways. Now, I do really like this that you still have to dial it in. You can't just be like full board knowledge, like, well, I'm going to veer the other way. The way that doesn't block me, all right? But this has, so I'll as someone who has thought Ion was too powerful coming into, scenario play, especially with the ban list, they threw out all the dial peaking and the dial changing. But I don't need to peek at your dial if you're ionized. Now, there is actually some. What do I say? You
got options, man.
I know it's agency is what it is, right? Like you are no longer forced to one forward focus. You can, do something to help you out in that situation. So I think overall that is a very positive change. We'll see if has Ion been that? What do I want to say? Has Ion been that prevalent for you guys? Like occasionally, but like I don't think we've seen mass Ion cannon swarms anymore. I
haven't seen swarms, but especially with the amount of loadout points that are out there, if somebody has a missile slot or most lists have some type of ion tech in it because why not? The value on it's super high.
Yeah, almost anything not Imperial had an ion cannon, ion torp, ion missile, or ion bombs, whatever the big, thank you.
Kind of bow tie. Which I do think that now well, let me preface this as a question to you guys. Is there self-ionization play? We did see 4-LOM crew go up where you could self-ionize. But like, would you bomb yourself to get these one forwards now? Or at least the one banks?
I don't know. Only being allowed to use a focus action the next turn and generally knowing a very specific case of where you could go, there's definitely still more of a downside in most cases than an upside, but I could see the very corner case where someone would be like, yeah, I'll have my TIE fighter that got ioned, do a one banker, one straight, they can go slow now. This one case. But most of the time, just when an opponent knows 100%, even the one banks, right, there's a tight area where that ship is going to be. Know where that is. And they can't change that at all. I still think that's normally detriment. And I think it wasn't as prevalent as people still trying to go for high offense or mobility in lists. But a lot of times in my early list building and probably midway through the first iteration of 2.5, I tried to have Ion not everywhere in my list, but like at least one good source because of how effective that could be. One, these obstacles hurt real bad, and that's probably one reason why they allowed you to do one banks or one straights now, because those obstacles hurt quite a lot. And also when you couldn't control anywhere, if you're only going to one straight, it's really hard for that ship, depending on where it got ioned, to get back into objective relevancy.
Yeah,
So-
it was super detrimental.
And we know medium and large base ships, like when they get ion, normally a bad time.
That's really bad. Just because it takes so much longer for them to get turned all the way around. And that little bit, that 45 degrees can make a massive difference. And I will say with the self-ionization, it's not something people are going to do all the time. Keep that trick, though, in your back pocket. Because I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but there might be a game where you're like, wait a second. I dialed in this. There is a system phase move that your opponent does that makes you realize, man, my large base ship needs to slow down, whatever it is, and I could counter net myself here to make my ship slow down. Like that is.
I was thinking more like ion bombs that don't hurt you, but
yeah, I was thinking more like that, like situations where you're like.
Well,
I know I want to stay in this area, so I will drop a bomb, and if I hit myself, yeah, I mean, who cares, kind of. But the point is, I'm trying to hit you because I'm trying to stop you from doing what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Because if you know you're just going to you're in a formation or you're in a type block or you want to stay in that area, you know that ahead of time, so you're accepting that. You're accepting the consequence, but in order to get your opponent to not, because your opponent has a different plan. So
feedback array might get more use.
It's true. Feedback array.
Feedback array before you engage. Gain 1 ion and disarm. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a shot anyway, but somewhere around you is not looking too good on health. Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
You all of a sudden have a use for this card that I haven't seen in a list in years.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. If you're like, well, my 2 attack dice aren't going to kill this 1 health ship, maybe the feedback array will. But another one from our chat was Dobbs as well. The defender who ionizes to cancel damage for friendlies. Mm-hmm. Now not as detrimental to the ship if you got those 1 banks.
Yep. Lambolo says he's not going there. It's such a corner case. Just watch out, my friend. You never know. Self-ionization, I would not bank on it, but you never know. There might be.
Good Pondione. You said don't bank on it.
Don't bank on it.
Yeah, I mean,
oh man.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like, think about it this way. Gauntlets go super fast, right?
Right.
Then they don't have a 1 forward.
Yeah.
You can theoretically be, if you have contraband or something, just stop, take your action, drop an ion bomb, ionize yourself, and then you 1 forward the next turn. I mean, that's a real easy way to not have to go fast and be in that same spot.
It's still probably more helpful to be like, I want this ion bomb to threaten my opponent, but I'm not going to be too concerned if it hits me too.
Right.
Like, you probably still want to use it offensively, not just like, I get a 1 straight.
In addition to ion bombs, I forgot now who said it here. Lord Jibbro, talking about the electroproton bomb, which primarily does ion tokens. Mm-hmm. Now can be dropped recklessly because you will not affect your ships as bad. The other big one, ion limiter override, where you can take a barrel roll in your TIE ship for the risk of an ion or a strain. The ion being not as detrimental could bring that back into use. Normally, you'd only see it on like Vermeil, a Reaper with a talent, because the ion wouldn't do anything, right? So, or really the strain. Let's be honest here. But now, could see it used more often.
Awesome. So yeah, those are the changes that came to ion. Now, the next thing we want to talk about was, again, people not looking around the blue. Okay, let's talk about obstacle overlapping. Okay, so in the blue section, and I will, I'm going to go ahead. And a little bit of spoilers here. We'll enhance, and we'll show the screen here. Okay, right here is what we're looking at. Right there. Give me a second to reposition this just a little bit. Okay. So in the blue, it says, before a ship moves, if it is overlapping an obstacle, it does not suffer effects of moving through that obstacle. And all of a sudden, I saw people and texting me like, oh, that means if you hit the same rock going on and off of it, you don't take damage a second time. I go, that's not what that says. Because look at the paragraph above. Before a ship moves, if it is at range 0 of an obstacle, it does not suffer the effects of that obstacle unless it moves through or overlaps that obstacle again. The second paragraph is a clarification that after you hit a rock, boom, your ship, when you start the next round, you don't automatically take damage because you're on that rock when that round starts. That is the purpose of that paragraph, is just that. You're there, and the paragraph above is the situation in which you would overlap it or move through it again.
Wait, there's another clarification though, and this is probably the one that you guys are, unless I'm wrong with it, are overlooked.
Probably. Go ahead.
So, I don't like that, We're gonna fight.
Go ahead.
Go
ahead.
man.
Go ahead. I feel like this is one of those where you're gonna say exactly what I said. You're gonna say exactly what I said. I'm gonna go, yeah, that's what I said. Well, go ahead. Let's
probably because I was
round one.
But the thing that changed, unless it moves through. Can you condense that again?
Yeah. I'll make it a little smaller.
You have the link open. I see your little icon up there. It says
Where?
It's our agenda page.
Oh, it's on the. I thought he was looking at it.
There you go.
It's all right. This kitty's being cute. So unless it moves through or overlaps that obstacle again. So the question that I have is, with the stop maneuver and the other maneuvers that basically like the separatists that we're stopping, does this change anything at all for either one of them at all?
Nope. Just a clarification. So I guess. So you asked that question. What was the intent? Like, what were you thinking could happen?
Well, because when he was zoomed in, that's why I asked him to zoom out. When he was zoomed in, it said before, unless that, the effects of that obstacle, unless it moves through. I wasn't seeing the or overlaps, because if it's moved through, you have to complete a maneuver. You're stopping.
It does not suffer the effects of moving through that obstacle.
But if it's overlaps, then after you stopped, you overlapped again. So
template is fine. Mm-hmm. Overlap is not. Is that what the?
No.
You guys are shaking your head.
Let's
No. It doesn't change anything. Just where I was confused, I didn't see the overlaps because when it was zoomed in. Because if you stop, you didn't move through an obstacle, but you still overlapped it. So
let's. I just want to break this down for people who are potentially at home
confused,
thought that it was the other way and still confused. All this blue sentence says. Let's start before a ship moves. Okay, that's it. Hasn't moved. Hasn't done anything yet. If it is overlapping an obstacle, so it's on it. It's overlapping. The ship is there. Hasn't moved yet. It does not suffer the effects of moving through that obstacle. In that state, nothing else. It hasn't moved. As soon as it moves, the bullet point above it, if you go through it again, that's when that comes into play. It's just saying when your ship starts, before it moves, it's stationary on an obstacle. It's just clarifying that you do not take damage for just existing there. Now, whether or not you move through it again in your move that you're about to do, that will determine whether you take damage or not. But just starting there, existing there, and being there does not mean you're going to take damage.
I'm wondering why they felt the need to, because it sounds overly redundant, and I did that on purpose, overly redundant. Why? I mean, I think this is the way that it was always.
Enough or got enough confusion that they felt the need to add that clarification.
I guess.
Look, it's the same thing as like when you see a sign over at a park that's like, you can't do this thing, and you're like, that's really random. Why would they tell? Because someone messed it up for everyone else.
No roller skating on the grass. Okay.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Well, someone tried, and it messed everything all up. So.
Yeah, and I will agree. Like as longtime players, this 100% is unnecessary for our understanding of the game, and it seems like mostly players who've played for a while see this and go, "But why?" Right? Like it just seems strange. I think there are people who got confused a few times, and or for newer players, maybe in the developer's mind, there's some mechanic in another game where the existence of a ship in a state causes an effect. Who knows? Who knows why? But I think it is simply a clarification for that. Wow.
So just for my own peace of mind, because now I think I've confused myself.
Yep.
If my template or base overlaps I suffer the damage.
Yeah.
When? Specifically when
it happens.
When I'm moving. When I move through it.
You suffer damage. If the template overlaps you overlap.
Okay. But I just don't suffer any additional things beforehand. I think we can all agree on this.
Yeah. It's kind of like
because I did think they were changing it. I think a lot of people did think they were changing it, but
I guess remember, this is old, first edition, when we had Nim that could hold bombs, right?
Sure.
People were like, you can only do it once per turn, but like, what happens if like a ship exists on top of that bomb and lands there, and like you tell it to stop? In the next phase, does it go off? Is like what? Like it was the whole like it's always existent there. Like when would it trigger type thing? It's overlap all the time. How could you stop it infinite amount of times of every second of that type of thing? It's weird and annoying, but clarifying it's better than not clarifying it, I guess.
Okay.
There you go. So
Jones got a visual.
All right. So it's just saying, turn 1, smack, you take effects. All right. Turn 2, you're good. Just fly away. You're fine. That's it.
Conversely, turn 1, smack, not far enough. Turn 2,
smack again.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So
the cat is watching you do the thing right now on my computer.
The TLDR is nothing's changed for that. It's just fighting the rules lawyers.
Yep.
Okay. That's good to know.
All right. Cool. So that is that one. We can go back to our beautiful faces here. All right. Okay. And the last little change that they had here for overlapping enemy ships, Ryan.
They add. I mean, I thought it was there originally, but I guess it was just reclarified or stated that when you overlap an enemy ship, specifically enemy, when you would resolve it as if it's an enemy, you can take a red focus or calculate action.
They left it blue, so they're like, no, seriously, it can be. Cause I think all of us call it like, I'll take the red focus. Because the calculate was the option. I don't know.
Specifically, it's whatever's on your action bar. Now, if both were added, you get to choose.
Right. There you go. All right. So those were the base rule changes. Now, let's head over to errata land, because there's some things that got tweaked here a little bit. Let's go ahead and talk about the TIE Strikers and the TIE Reapers, which we previewed a little bit. So all the TIE Reapers, let's start with the Strikers. All the TIE Strikers, okay, so the smaller Flappy Bird ones, all right, if you don't know which one the TIE Striker is, they have a ship ability called Adaptive Ailerons. It now reads, before you reveal your dial, if you are not stressed, you must boost, period. It no longer says anything about executing a maneuver. It is now just boost. And what this does now, it means that strikers can, their ability no longer triggers effects that happen when you execute a maneuver. That's step one. Step two also is now you cannot ailerons into obstacles, because in the boost definition, it states that you can't execute boosts into obstacles. So those are the two main pieces there for the replacement of the boost and the effects that happens. There's also a change to the Reaper. Marcel?
So are we going to go both and talk about like the effects? Because I got a question with the Striker. Because let's do like a quick FAQ
sure.
here.
Yeah, FAQ on the Striker. Hit me.
Yeah. So it says you must boost. Now, the scenario that I'm thinking about is I have an obstacle or a ship, an opponent ship, and also I think they were trying to avoid like the Goran ability, like the old 2.0 Goran ability, where you boost, you move, you bump an enemy ship, you focus, and then you hop over it and you take another action. But and now let's say you have a ship or an asteroid or something. A little bit to like 45 degrees to your right. Does that mean that now all of a sudden you became Duchess and you can say, well, I choose to boost right. I'm going to fail that boost. So I'm going to turn a hard left here. Or say, you know what? I'm going to choose to boost left and then complete it so I can get like a 270-degree turn.
This is the door that they've opened. Go ahead, Will.
So now they're Duchess,
you are
right?
100% correct that if you are flying, imagine the situation that you're just flying next to an obstacle, and
or next to another striker, next to a
sure,
ship
just whatever. Yeah. And yeah, you could be like, well, I thought about aileronsing forward and then banking, but I'll just bank from here because I don't want to bump into you. Yeah, we'll just ailerons to the rock. So your question is, yes, it can be abused. Or the answer to your question.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, now
yes,
you
it can, and
you gave everyone a pseudo.
abused.
You gave everyone a pseudo choice. You gave everyone a choice of like, do I want to move from here? Do I want the aileron, or do I not want the aileron?
If
you have the ability to
practice,
not
to
really. I mean,
engineer that.
If you got 5, as long as you're flying within the rocks or something like that, there's 6 rocks in there.
It's definitely different than what I mean, yes. Obviously, it's different, but once you get on the board, people who are used to strikers generally have a pretty good idea of like their plan A and plan B. Sometimes a plan C, depending on like how much is in front of them. Like their plan A, so the whatever's on their dial, they know like they probably have 2 of their aileron maneuvers where they know they can do and be comfortable with. The third one probably puts them on a rock or in a really bad spot. So now it's a case of, okay, maybe I could even plan on what happens if I don't aileron. Is this maneuver still going to be what I want it to do? Because it's still a must, right? Mm-hmm. If you try and make, because there's going to be times where they're like, I don't think my boost fits that way. Therefore, I'm going to boost, and oh god, no, it fit, and I'm sitting in front of a rock right now.
Oops.
Or like, or the times. Remember when we used to, well, still can and do, abuse the B-wing focus link roll to get the stress and the focus,
Sure.
and like that time where you barrel the B-wing, like I don't think this barrel fits, and actually it does, and you're like, oh well, I guess I'm here now.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I mean, on the flip side of all of that, a striker has short K turns. Reapers have short K turns, and sloops specifically. So no longer can you ram a ship to make sure that you can sloop or K turn over it, right? So the little, I think what strikers got, adorable little 1Ks. Is that right? I think they actually have a 2K.
Striker is 1K and 2 sloop.
Right. That 1K is going to be a lot harder to pull off if you can't just ram into a ship and then, like, obviously you can't do it like face to face, but you know, if you get a little bit to the side of them, you could one turn around them. That's actually going to, in my opinion, make it more difficult to turn these things around, because leaping over ships could be a
liability.
Yeah, exactly. You might not make it over them if you have to fail your boost now.
I will say it was much more common to see people still use the 2 sloops anyway than the 1Ks because of that risk tolerance that it had for how tight of a turn it was, even with ailerons. So I don't know if it's going to be that big of a difference, but there's definitely people who had used the aileron bump and then sloop to really get in a much better, more favorable position at a higher initiative. Now they can't do that bump and then sloop.
Right, I have more experience with Reapers probably, and I would their little 1 sloop, I think, is what I'm referencing more, but it does apply to the strikers as well. So there's loss and gain for them. It's going to be trickier, which I will like to see.
One thing I want to add, because I see the question in here. So as you go through the tree of rules, it says boost here. If you look at the boost rules, you have to choose a direction, and a boost can fail. So if you choose a direction and it doesn't work, you don't get to try the other directions. This is not find what fits and you go there. It's the boost, you make a decision, left, right, or straight, and it either works or it doesn't.
To compound on that, he's already been asked, can you abuse composure? Composure says, while you fail an action. The boost is not an action.
It's a move.
It is a move. That is 100% correct.
All right, well, let's go ahead and hit the Reaper now, Will.
Okay. Well, in the same vein as far as the boost, but let me read it here. This is now controlled ailerons instead of whatever it used to be. Before you reveal your dial, if you are not stressed, you may boost. So no longer will Reapers have to do red actions or stops to slow themselves down. They can just choose not to boost, and they will not have to fly as crazily fast as they, if you've seen some Reapers who are just ailerons 3 bank, they are so fast. But if you want to dial that speed down, you do not have to boost anymore. This, to me, brings Reapers into I actually really like their change to the name, controlled ailerons, because they were reckless before.
Reckless ailerons. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
because you couldn't keep
like
them in. You couldn't keep them with the friends.
No, smashing through rocks, just bumping into stuff, just all the time. Like they were just uncontrollable out on the battlefield. Sometimes. Now, with controlled ailerons, I think they're going to be what's going to feel like a totally different ship. You may opt to never ailerons now, depending on the situation. So I think it's overall big improvement for the Reaper.
I think it's a ship. Go ahead, Marcel.
No, just, I mean, the chassis on that, I mean, just that alone, I think makes that chassis
Way better.
Top, not just way better, like
Yeah.
top 3 in
yeah.
the game, like top 2, 3.
Oh yeah, well, wait till you hear
great.
the points, Mars.
Yeah,
so.
Duchess was great to begin with, and you give basically every
Reaper can has
real
Duchess now.
Duchess.
Let's
you get the
remind people
generic
that Duchess does have the additional thing that she can still ailerons while stressed. Reapers cannot
Nice.
do it when stressed.
True.
Granted, most of the time in higher percentage of your game, you're not going to be stressed, so you still will get to choose. But they are not Duchess. No one is 100% Duchess.
That's right. She's still unique enough. But I see where Marcel's at. Like, value. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Great thing that they don't have a high initiative pilot to really take advantage of that. But more on them later, because we will talk about their pricing. But it looks like we actually got more abilities to talk about on these Strikers and Reapers.
Yeah, so because of the change of the adaptive and now controlled ailerons, the fact that they include boost, that means that 2 of the pilots needed to have their ability adjusted to fit kind of the vision of what the Striker and the Reaper are now. So Vagabond change now is after you move using your adaptive ailerons, if you're not stressed, you may drop 1 device. And Vizier now reads after you move, and that's a change there, using your controlled ailerons, because it's a TIE Reaper, you may perform a coordinate action, and then if you do, skip your perform action step. So it now no longer has anything to do with executing a maneuver related to adaptive ailerons. It's after you've done that move. So if you fail the boost from those abilities don't go off. It's very similar to the original intent, just taking away the maneuver part. Now let's go ahead and hit these upgrade cards. Ryan?
All right. Probably the biggest one that came out swinging super hard from the Pride of Mandalore pack. We have Ursa Wren, crew from the Rebels. I'll just read it. You can maintain up to 2 locks. Each lock must be on a different object. I believe that is the exact same. Second paragraph is where it gets changed. After a friendly ship at range 0 to 3 is locked by an enemy ship, you may perform a lock action. So no more someone with R3 Astromech lock the enemy and then lock a friend to give Ursa Wren a lock and then all that stuff. So
as good as that was.
It needs to be an enemy that locks a friend of Ursa Wren. You are friendly to yourself in this one, doesn't say another. And then you can perform a lock action. Well, actually, this may be interesting. Was the original Ursa Wren card acquire or perform?
It was acquire a lock.
So you can't be stressed to get Ursa Wren as well either.
Right,
correct. Yep. I don't know if there's any combinations off of lock actions. I guess R3. R3 does ask it if you take a lock action, you may require a second lock. But now you're taking R3 and Ursa, really doubling down on these locks now.
Probably a little bit overkill in most cases. But yeah, I don't think there's a crew carrying Rebel ship that has a lock link to something else. I'm pretty sure anything lock in a linked action case right now, at least in Rebels, is something linked to lock, and that's an extended with the E-Wings. I'm actually pretty sure there's nothing in the game that does a lock link to something else. It's something linked to lock.
Oh, TIE SF, get out of here.
No, it's rotate link to lock. I'm saying lock first.
That's definitely lock, then rotate on the SF.
Is it? All right.
Yeah.
That's the one example, though. I do know.
I don't play him anyway.
Irrelevant, Ryan says.
Irrelevant.
Garbage ship.
They all die the same.
All right, so that's the first errata that happened, and probably like you said, the biggest swing. And I do love that underneath the erratas now they give like the reasoning, and they were like, yeah, we messed up. It's essentially what it says. It's like to give the intent or something, the actual intent of the card. So we worded it wrong. Essentially, was the admission there.
Yeah, as cool as R3 locking your own ship to coordinate it was. Will be missed.
That was actually bogus. I'll say it.
It was pretty bogus.
Pretty bogus. You took a 6-point crew to have literally anyone who could lock you be a coordinator.
Yep.
Or a lock.
Yep.
That's super bogus.
Pretty solid.
Make everybody a coordinator. Mm-hmm.
Now there was a change to Contraband Cybernetics as well, Marcel.
I did not know that, so let me read it. Contraband Cybernetics should include the line that this card's charges cannot be recovered. Added a restriction on recovering charges. Yes, thanks, Java. They don't want permanently stopping. I'm glad that they didn't do this to Overdrive, because Java Overdrive is still
Java Overdrive is still on the menu.
Java Overdrive Lando, and they got cheaper because Lando's cheaper.
Oh yeah.
Are we
Have your Contraband.
Overtuned or overdrive thrust?
Overtuned.
Yeah,
Thank you.
calculates. I guess you can't recharge that kind of sucks. It's still 3 points.
Yep.
Yeah, it's still 3. It's still worth it.
I don't remember.
Honestly,
Cutthroat,
it just
maybe?
became.
Cutthroat could recover it, but it doesn't.
No,
pass,
this
In the past.
charge cannot be recovered.
Period.
Blank.
You're
Period.
done. It's like
done.
Yeah,
It's basically proximity mines.
the same treatment. It's too powerful.
I mean,
It's too good.
realistically, when this thing could be because the game length was short. Now it's been theoretically extended because of how the scenarios talked about earlier. But when I basically told my opponent, my Mandalorian Razor Crest, basically could do red maneuvers and Han Gunner the entire game because the game length was short, and I just said I didn't care about anything I did on my dial. I'll do every action I want. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Really?
Probably not good for the game.
Surprising when you can get more than 5 stress on a ship in almost a single turn. Maybe something's wrong with it.
I'm the Tycho now.
Yeah, geez.
Now, granted,
Because you could stop, barrel roll, and Han. You can get 3 stress around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, get out of here. No thanks.
Yeah, it
I'm
was.
glad.
I will say it was odd. It oddly felt a little thematic that like the Razor Crest was flying around stressed the entire time. Like it's just like, oh, this is just terrible. So many things are happening. I'm stressed out.
So we had that, and then we had 2 other changes that are similar related for the Resistance. BB Astromech and BB-8 Astromech have been moved. Their effects have been moved to during the system phase, being able to spend the charge for their respective moves. So BB Astromech now reads, during the system phase, you may spend 1 charge to perform a roll action instead of having anything to do with executing a blue maneuver. Same thing for BB-8 during the system phase. One of these consistent things that we're starting to see is they're trying to get rid of any repositions are being shoved into the system phase unless it's an action on your action bar.
Prepositions.
Right,
specifically.
preposition. Right, exactly.
Because moving your ship before its dial is essentially changing your dial.
Correct.
Wait. What'd you say? Repeat that sentence again.
The
Yeah.
prepositions? Oh.
No, something about system phase.
Prepositions are being shoved into the system phase so that you don't have dial information. You have other preposition information.
Unless you're a Reaper.
Unless you're a Reaper.
What up,
yeah.
man?
Or Striker.
Reapers be reaping.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's an
really
easy change for them to make later. Go ahead. Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they system phase that.
Maybe.
No, the Reapers. The Reapers.
We'll find out in the future if they change it.
Yeah, if it's abusive, throw it in system phase then.
Yep.
Yeah, but it was just, I assume it was really hard to point cost these astromechs. They were either not usable because they were too expensive, or they were going to be too good. As soon as you had anyone who had a higher initiative who could take major advantage of it. You can still take major advantage of it in both low and high initiative in the system phase. We've seen it with Adas for sure. And neither of these cost you, like, they don't require blues anymore. That's a big deal, which means you can do reds now. That's
true.
Yeah. But also, they don't stress you like the sensitive controls did. Just free.
Yeah, but at 7 points for that, for the option on BB-8, but like we used to see them spammed a lot on T-70s, the BB Astros, because they're priced per initiative, right? But like now, yeah, I don't think we'll see them often, but they do have a high potential again, which I do like to see.
All right. And then the last little bit we're about to hit the points changes, which we're not going to read through all of them because that'd take way too long. We'll dive more into that next week. The other little thing they put in here is they are aware that some people do want changes or updates for Epic. There was a single line right before all the Epic stuff that says the rules for huge ships have not been updated alongside the core rules. They will be updated in the future. So that line has been added in there. That means that it's on their plate. Who knows what's coming there, but it is on the plate. So we hit changes for scenario changes, base rule changes, and card erratas. The next big one to tackle is, of course, the point changes. And we don't have the time to get into all of them.
Ban list.
Oh, sorry. We do have to hit the ban list. Yes.
Yep.
Let's do that first. I don't know how I forgot the ban list. All right. So let's go ahead and...
Rapid fire.
Pew, 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 pew. Hit me. Take it, Ryan.
Sloan, banned, gone.
And these are, by the way, banned in standard, right? Just for clarification.
Well, yeah,
So
banned in
never-
standard or
I mean, I've seen a lot of extended tournaments say extended with ban list.
With bans, yeah.
Like
Right.
that's what
It has the
Midwest
option to
was,
keep
yeah.
or not have them.
All right. So go ahead. Just hit me rapid fire. What are the new ban things, Ryan? Give me the whole list.
All right, everything. All right, we got Sloan, we have Auto Blasters, we got Commander Pyre, we got Hull Upgrade.
Praise be!
R2
Sorry, had to.
That's for streamer, yeah, I bet. R2 Astromech, R5 Astromech, Sabine Crew Rebel, and Trajectory Simulator.
Praise be! Again.
So that was rapid fire, but some of these, I mean, there's conversation. Like this is just as much as the rules changing right here. Like no more Auto Blaster, that's huge. No more Auto Blaster, no more Trajectory. No more Hull is huge. R2, R5, who cares? Sabine, who cares if you don't have Trajectory? But Trajectory, Auto Blaster, Pyre, those, and Hull Upgrade, those four were. Pyre was in every FO list. Auto Blaster was basically in every list that could carry it. And Force of Crit, Boba Fett, all the Republic. Basically, Auto Blaster kills between Auto Blaster and some of the new changes. Like the ETAs or ETAs, whatever they're called, they're just not that good anymore. Trajectory Simulator, big. The fact that they banned it instead of saying like large base only, it's because now the Star Fortresses can't get it either. I mean, not like they're standard anyway. But Hull Upgrade, like I understand why, but like, Hull Upgrade.
So Hull Upgrade was, well, let's preface this with, it used to be variable pricing to where a 0 agility ship would not pay the same price a 3 agility ship would. Now, I said it a million times. Your first 4 points on a ship with 3 agility with a mod slot should be Hull Upgrade.
Every time.
Because you're getting at such a big discount. Now, I don't think that's the reason, because they could have just priced it at 7, right? Because Shield is 8 these days. But I think that the main one was that it was interacting with too many abilities. Things like Wolfaro comes to mind, Tel Tavera, these abilities that needed to know how much hull you have to be able to work or not work. There's that new, is it Killer? The guy who likes 2 hull ships, the Z95 clone. That was another thing of abilities that interact with how much hull you have. So I assume that that was too problematic for whatever reason. Now, they did leave shield in the game, because almost no abilities ask how many shields you have. So that I have to assume more abilities that are going to be looking at your hull in the future.
It's probably that in combination of like, why have, like, granted, you can't crit a shield for a critical card effect. Sure, there was a little bit of a difference as to what where there was some value, but to maintain 2 different cards that essentially just gave you 1 more health, and in some cases ships that could take both of them for 2 health.
Exactly.
That's probably difficult to balance, having the loadout available to do that and the slots available without someone just saying, I'm gonna hit 2 extra health on my ship, when they don't really want to have to worry about that potential balance. Granted, we hadn't seen a ton of that. A lot of people opted in for stuff like afterburners, or it was mainly afterburners, realistically, because when you said when any 3 agility ship they put hologram, like, no, I looked for afterburners first for myself. But
well, depending on.
Granted, and they also increased the cost of shield 8, so like that, because of loadout adjustments and how much loadout ships get, now it really narrows the scope as to what ships are able to take shield. Or able to doesn't always mean should. Right? There's some ships that probably have the health that they theoretically need, and they need more firepower or more assistance on repositioning, a multitude of things that upgrades can do that 8 points might be better spent on. So, a lot of people online feedback definitely felt really confused about hull. I think for simplicity, easier for future design. And like you said, Will, we already have plenty of things that reference hull count for abilities. It just makes things easier when it's like, I only now need to worry about the hull value on the base pilot card itself.
And I would say also, as like, I know as a streamer, I absolutely hated a hull upgrade.
They did it for you, Dion. Did it for you.
Thank you, AMG. But in reality, as a player, looking across the board, it is much easier to see a shield upgrade and its effect. Like, there's that physical piece that you interact with when you take it out, versus a hull upgrade when you're trying to mentally go through cards. I know there's like, oh, you should remember your cards, or otherwise you're an idiot, right? But that's for the the jack, the mean person out there. So it's just, I find it just a little bit cleaner way to play the game. A little bit cleaner. Just a little bit. I like it. So,
now to note that while they banned the generic versions of the R2 Astromech and R5, they didn't ban the unique ones. So they seem okay with you spending the cost for the more unique ones that have special effects and are unique, that can't be spammed if that were ever to become an issue. But they wanted the generic ones out, and they said, maybe similar to Shield, they only want to have to balance 1 version of these type of regen effects, and to have 1 cost for them, not to have a bargain bin version. Essentially, you get 1.
Right. Yes, but much cleaner, and that's something we might end up seeing maybe in the future if they want to dabble in it again. Is a unique version of hull upgrade or something, some other way to get a health back or remove a damaged card. It allows them, like you said, to balance against, like, knowing that if the number on the card stays the same, that's a lot easier to design around that.
Before we move on with other things, the the ban list did remind me that technically there is a restricted list in X-Wing. There's just no restricted cards at this moment.
Not yet. Soon.
That's an intimidating thing
Like,
to have.
don't you
Like,
dare! I will put you on that list.
You will be on that restricted list. You cannot behave yourself, ban cards. But I do think that's uplifting that so far nothing's too crazy that they can't even have it in the game as of right now.
I disagree. I think there should be something in the restricted list.
Well, I mean, really? You got a nominee?
Yeah. Team USA players. We should be on the restricted list.
Too
got
good.
'em.
Too good.
Too good. Too good. Too good.
All right, so a ton of points changed, loadouts changed. Again, we don't have the time. It is because we've already been going for an hour and a half. What are some highlights that you noticed for maybe the faction that you fly, something that you fly against? Anybody who wants to go first?
I'd like to nominate Will. He has a good breakdown of like ship count stuff, and I think it's worth
Break us down.
pointing
What are
out
some
first.
things that happen?
Yeah,
the consequences.
Yeah, to me, as a traditional more ships player, the restriction from point cost. Now, in the past, we talked a lot about 2-point ships. Most factions all factions had at least one 2-point ship, sometimes multiple. But those 2-point ships were ran so often that it became problematic, apparently. Now, there's only 2-point ships in Empire, which have generics, Separatist, which also have a generic 2-pointer, and then special call out to BB-8 Pod as a 2-point ship in the Resistance. Now, this has caused those other 4 factions, Rebels, Scum, First Order, and the Republic, they are locked into a 3-6 ship list because they cannot bring a 7. Basically, it works out that 3-3, 3-3, 4-4 equals 20, and 5 3s and a 5 equals 20. But there's no way to ever get a 7th ship without a 3-point or a 2-costed ship. So that therefore creates that these 4 factions, have a ship restriction of 3, which is in the rules, and then a maximum of 6 because of their limitations on what they can bring. Now, technically with BB-8 Pod, because it's unique, you could run 7 ships in the Resistance. I tried it out. It's okay. I don't know if it's good. I don't know, but
Will,
it's okay. It's flyable.
In the chat, they want you to be aware that autopilot drone is 2 points.
I mean, but that's not a real. That's not a real
You
ship.
just big
You know what?
Hey.
You know what?
Hey.
Okay. You know what?
Up too.
Okay. You know what? I take it all back. If you, but you don't. Sure.
They're not real
You know
ships,
what?
Will. Just keep going.
Sure.
Just keep
I
going.
don't know how to argue that. If you
Just
want,
say-
if
you
you
say
want to
no,
run 7
and you just
ships, I don't think the puppet is not going to let you run 7 ships. So that's a moot point, in my opinion.
The pup has to be in a houndstooth anyway.
Right. When that, like I said, that's not going to get you to 7 ships. If you want to run 7 ships with the auto drone, you might as well have taken a deficit. No, that's not true. It has a good value, but not for very long. Anyways, that has created, I think, a fundamental restriction on these factions. no longer, because we used to do averages all the time, right? Like, is it 3.9 is the average? Now it's bumped up to like 4.7, right? Does the average ship
Almost
count?
5. Yep.
But now, if someone says, I'm flying a Rebel list, 3, 4, 5, or 6 ships is only what you can bring, which I think is limiting, but I will be interested to understand more about that. Now, but the Empire and Separatists are traditionally the swarm factions anyways, so maybe it is a way to get more faction identity out of those two than the other ones who can't just like spam a bunch of Z95s or whatever, or mining guild ties, right? So I'll be interested to see how that plays out. But so that we could start there. Biggest loser, by the way, any ship that cost 2 points previously. Your Night Beast, your what was the other ones? Contrail, Hobby. Nope. They were back.
I wouldn't say that.
Not
I wouldn't
every
say that
single
because
2-pointer went up. The Trade Federation drone is still 2 points, even though there are many other vultures more worthwhile than the Trade Federation.
yeah. But also, like some of the ships that went up from 2 to 3, they went up from 2 to 3, but their loadout.
Oh,
like,
I'm not saying they're unflyable.
No, you said they're losers. They're not losers because they
are losers.
They are still valuable they're valuable enough because their loadout went up as well.
In my binary system,
a lot more 3s that I would probably take over them right now.
Yeah, in my binary system of did you win or did you lose, they have to go into the losers. Speaking of losers, we'll start with Empire. Generic X1s and the Alpha Interceptors used to be the generics to run at 3 points, back up to 4. Probably never gonna see those guys again. Sorry. Nope. RIP Strom and the Storms. Never gonna see you again. Winners though for Empire, the TIE Fighters. I'm gonna send Dion
back.
I'm gonna send Dion a
Honestly,
list.
I don't like full swarm or mini swarm. There've been a lot of Empire lists that I've liked that's like Acer 2 plus a mini, like just 4 of them, right? Felt solid.
Wait, no, I ignored that. I copied and pasted something else. But I found a list for TIE Fighters that you can run 7 TIE Fighters who can get extra attack dice, either through missiles, pilot abilities, cannons, what have you.
It's just crazy because you can get Nash, Gorin, and 6 TIE Fighters, and 4 out of those, or 5 out of the 6 TIE Fighters are named. I mean, it's just ridiculous stuff.
Oh yeah,
that's a Nate ship list with Nash and Gorin.
And Iden.
Yeah, Nash and Iden. Good luck with that.
Nash, actually, you could Nash, Gorin, Iden, and other ones. It actually all fits. Yeah, just really ridiculous things.
Yep. In addition to
or Vader and Vader and 5. God.
There you go. Beautiful segue. Vader. Both his iterations went down in price. His X1 went down to from 8 to 7, I believe, and then Defender went from 11 to 9. Vader's also reaping those benefits of the new points. Play on words there. Reapers, we talked in length about, all went down to 4 points, except for Vermeil, the Initiative 4, who now has the biggest loadout. He is the Reapers in general, big winners for the update. And then also, by the same vein, Defenders. All Defenders, most Defenders only cost 7 points now, if I'm understanding that.
Do you defend?
Correctly.
You 7, unless you're Vader.
Oh, you 7 points, yes. Because it used to be like 8 for Vessery, 8 for Ryad, things like that. Rexler Brath for 7 points and 13 loadout. They are, I don't know about good, but that 1 point for them means a lot, in my opinion. So let's move on.
They're just looking. They're on that edge of like, we're not gonna quite let you fit 3 of these in there, and that's always been that threshold of like, I don't want to let you do that.
Yeah, we'll see if they ever change the elite title to say -1 squad point or something.
Well, it'll now be loadout right now.
No, well, yes and no. Anyways, that's Empire. Be on the lookout for TIE fighters now instead of X1s, and Reapers. Look out for them.
And look out
they
for
should be all
Defender
over.
Vader, too.
Oh, yeah.
Quick side note. To Stanley's point, does it make sense to do like the Delta 7s and split out a defender pointed with like without the title and a defender pointed with the title?
I'd be in on that.
Yeah,
Yes,
because that defender
100%.
title, if you can get again, you can't lower it through loadout, but if you lower it through just breaking those ships as different ships,
I don't see a reason why they wouldn't. I kind of look at the Delta 7 versus the Delta 7B as a test. You know, are we seeing both? Are they? You know, it's which we are
For other configurations. I can imagine like the Starwing, you could have a price for a assault configuration, which would be cannons or whatever. Basically, or
cannon versus missiles. Yep.
Yeah, you could pay different prices depending on what configuration you have.
Right. And that would even allow them to give them, besides the slot changes on the configs, you can swap that out by completely separating those.
Yeah. That is interesting. I like that line of thinking. That little, like you said, a little testing ground to see if splitting ships like that is worth it or not. And I think for a lot of ships who actually decide to take their configuration or not, like a B-wing is always going to take the stabilized S-foils, right? X-wings, same thing. But when it like completely changes your ship, it does start to question whether you're taking it or not. But let's move on because we got 6 other factions to breeze through. Ryan, you want to take a look at Rebel winners and losers?
Yeah, Rebels, they're a little more specific, at least on the winner end, because there weren't a lot of... There wasn't a single chassis that won. It was pilots within some chassis. The Han and Lando pilots for the Falcon, they all got reduced to... Let me double check.
8, the same cost as Leia.
Yes, they're all 8 now, right? So... every Rebel Falcon being the same cost, but having different loadout and obviously their abilities. Besides Chewie's still 7, and the Outer Rim Smuggler, but who cares about that? All have varying, minor varying loadout and their abilities. So could definitely see a lot more Han play. We have Luke X-Wing, kind of his squad point cost went down to 6. But with things like outmaneuver and afterburners going up, which were very prevalent on him in the past, he has a shift in what he can utilize now. But still, having him at 6, the same as Wedge, that's, I don't know. I would always take Luke before Wedge myself, unless very specific metas.
As a note, Wedge, Luke, Falcon fits again.
Yes.
Going back old school.
Old school. It's been a long time. But yeah, looks pretty good.
Also, all the Sheathapeds are 4 costs. That includes Fen Rao, who is I6 with Coordinate.
They let him out the box.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
We'll find out if he's let out the box.
Oh, God, I used him yesterday in a game against Andrew Durham. God, he is so good with the loadout that he had. I had him with the child. And
the child, really? All right.
Yeah, because
you can deny their locks.
Him if,
yeah, but he's like, oh, I got a lock on you. Well, good. You're not gonna use it.
No.
You Yeah. No, it's Initiative 6 coordinator, the child, and I had something
So
else on them as well.
we were talking about it, but that goes back to I think pre-position versus post-position. That unless you're coordinating another I6 with Fred Rao, it's probably a post-position. So it could limit some of that what they're trying to get rid of.
I wish the Rebels had other I6 that were worthwhile. Oh man.
Fen Rao exists, so I mean, sorry, you can't bring both.
No. But you got
All
Wedge,
flipping
Han.
Raos, actually.
You got Wedge, Han, and Hera. I mean, there's some really good options there.
Yeah. Dutch got his proton torpedo slot back. Sorry, I specifically say proton torpedo because you do have enough loadout to take it, but you can do plasma and with other things if you want. But he has a torp again. A lot of people felt like they were missing torps on Dutch. It has Hawks listed here, but I don't think they changed it all for Rebels. I don't know who wrote that in. Unless Will just wants me to say Hawks because he likes Hawks.
Woo, go Hawks. Yeah, nothing changed there.
No, that meant to be Scum Hawks, I believe, but it ended up in there instead.
Losers and Rebels, I think B-Wings, combination. The 4s went up to 5, gained more loadout, conversely. They all obviously lost Trajectory Simulator, so that threat is gone. And some of the cheeky, because Afterburners got more expensive, someone Leia do 4 straight with B-Wing that's white, and then do an Afterburners boost, and then a barrel roll link lock, and hey, look, Proton Torpedo turn 1. That's not as much of a thing anymore. B-Wing's kind of very meh right now. Some of the X-Wings, not all of them, but some of them got upped from 4 to 5. The ones that did stay at 4 are the Partisans, your Edrio, Leventenza, and Colby Sperati.
Colby flies. Let's go.
Colby
Colby,
definitely see a lot more play.
Colby, it should be in the winners category because he stayed at 4 points. And now he got an extra loadout, so you can rock R4, a 3-point illicit, and Notorious on him. Oof, what a guy out there. Love me some Colby.
Marcel, you want to point out some scum stuff?
Let's see what we got here for Scummy Scum. Rolling up. It's in here. I remember you put winners and losers. Oh, here we are. Got them. So the winners, some 4-point Y-Wings. I don't know what they are. You put them on there. We'll get back to those in a second.
Al-Rees, Hadassian, and Lima Kai went
Probably
down.
more so
Lima Kai.
because Lima Kai is an I-5 that can carry a proton torpedo.
Well, yeah, that does sound good. Too bad it's a Y-Wing because I don't touch them. The Sikhs are actually really good though because they went down 3 points, the majority of them. So 3.6 are really great value now. The Hawks basically, they got the Moldy Crow. Moldy Crow is on all of them except the generic, I believe now, right?
No, it's just Dace, your
Dace
favorite
is the only
pilot.
one?
Dace got the...
Yeah, Dace is the ace again.
Dace the
And he's
ace,
only at
exactly.
5, right? Yeah, it's only
5 points for
now.
him and Palop for those Moldy Crow Scum Hawks, which
that
is
so good.
1 point less than their Rebel counterparts, who are 6.
Yeah, no, 5 points is really good for Moldy Crow. Anything. I mean, if you think about what they enable.
And you get turn 1 focus again instead of having to joust into objectives.
And the Fire Strappy, I've never heard of that ship before, but I'm pretty sure it's really good. William, tell us about that one. Why is it a winner? The Fire Strappy.
The Fire Strappy. Boba went down in loadout. He's now 9. That is the cap for all ships is 9 loadout, or excuse me, 9 squad point. Crassus went down in points, but everybody who else was already 7 points got a huge bump up to 5 or more.
Plus 5 or more.
Yeah, plus 5.
Okay.
Loadout value on your 7, the ones who are already 7 points. So Iman can bring a bunch more bombs again. Crassus Trellix, well, he went down in price, but basically cheaper and or more loadout. So big winners there.
And you got the losers as Manaroo, Cad, and Maul. Both of them all 3 of them, which were very good value buy. Well, I don't know about them all, but 2 of those were very good value buys. They went up a point. Maul also went up a point from 8 to a 9. That's a lot of points for Maul. And I think I would throw another one on there. I would throw Tulchiver on there as well, because that hull upgrade hits him in the heart so hard. I think that was, I would say.
And a quick note, just when you said CAD, we're talking about CAD Solus, not CAD Bane. Just to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They pointed them out,
CAD.
so we don't have to say CAD and CAD. We don't have to bring both of them anymore.
Make this known, because I don't know if it's on the cast, but Will's not liking the rogues, and I say just give him a minute before we call him DOA.
I want to range one. I've been trying to put the rogues and everything, but I'm sure we'll have a whole episode discussing the new ships. So more to come on that. All right, so that's Dion. Then you want to talk about Resistance?
Yeah, the Resistance. So we'll start with the Y-Wings, Resistance Y-Wings. Nearly all of them, all the named ones, end up with more loadout. And it's not just like, here's a point there, point here. Like, it's Zori got +4. And you got some of them. You think you have. I think Shasa Zaro ends up with +6, right? Like there's a pretty big range worth of points there. So if you felt like you wanted to run those Resistance Y-Wings, but you didn't quite have enough space for toys, you might have it now. The loadout points themselves didn't change, but you do have that.
There is one caveat to that, Dion. These are intuitive control Y-Wings.
Yes.
Wartime went from 4 to 6.
Yes.
So that's
10?
4 to 10. It went up by 6. Thank you.
Yes, there. Yeah, so wartime is 10. So yes, that loadout may seem like a lot. It's a lot of room for your intuitive controls Y-Wings, which I've had fun with. I tried a list with a lot of them. They got so many upgrades when I spawned in TTS. Rose just fell off the board. So if I ever play the Resistance Y-Wing list I've been trying out, I'm gonna tarot card most of everything. Because you can put on engine upgrade, targeting computer, and just all the baseline upgrades you want as a Y-Wing. Then anything that has charges, I'm probably gonna keep this.
Yeah, targeting computer, which will segue into the next ship. Targeting computer going down to 1 point. If you didn't have a white lock before, whether you're an interceptor, TIE fighter, Y-Wing, or fireball, that is a good buy these days.
That's right. Just take the targeting computer, shove it into your console, you'll be fine. All right, for 1 point, it's worth it. So with those fireballs, we also had the loadout go up on them. Now, Bucket, our 1J5, did go up from 2 points to 3 points because we talked about those changes that happened in the 2 points. But for that 1 point, did end up gaining a missile slot, a crew slot, an illicit, and a modification. So, went from not being able to put anything on it to just toss it in there. It is now it's a equipable ship, and again, you got anywhere from 3 to 4 loadout points for Jarek, Kaz, and the Colossus Station Mechanic, and then Bucket went from 0 to 8 loadout points. When it came to, and also we talk about BB-8, the other winner, it's a 2-point ship. So, hey, you might end up barrel rolling and boosting that little robot around, see what you got. When it comes to the losers, the T-70 X-Wings did take a bit of a hit. We had a lot of the 4-point T-70s end up going up to 5 points. There were a couple of things shifted around. I think a notable one, we did see Jess Pava go from 6 to 5 points. Maybe makes her a little bit more affordable. But overall, the T-70 X-Wings, the other notable, Neon Numb went from 6 to 5 as well, but that is at the cost of some loadout. So if you're a fan of T-70 X-Wings, I would take a moment and just really look at the changes that happened there, because they get shifted around a lot. I think overall it's a little bit of a hurt on the T-70s. I think we'll see a little bit less of them.
The thing of note is that one of the few sixes is Evan Wexley,
Yes.
who's the flap commander. So they still locked out 4 T-70s with the
Flappy,
snap.
snappy.
No flappy
Yeah.
snappy. Not allowed. Illegal. And the biggest loser in the Resistance is Murrow Coben. No longer the 3-point A-Wing auto include. It is now 4 points along with a bunch of its friends. So now, if you want that single A-Wing, you went from what essentially was an auto include if you wanted an A-Wing to now some choices if you're willing to play for an A-Wing at 4 points.
All right, let's keep moving on to First Order, which has a lot less winners and losers. Not much changing around here. Breach going down from Breach and Hollow going down from 6 points to 5 points and keeping most of their loadout. Those are quality I-5s. So be on the look for them. Oh, Breach lost 2 loadout. Ooh. He's still at 18 loadout for Breach. I'm sure he could figure it out. And then Kylo's as well. Kylo in both in the Silencer and in the Whisper went down a point. So only got to pay 7 for Silencer Kylo, which he had held the faction together before, so he might be able to
be doing it again.
Yeah, yeah. We'll start figuring out the squad, what combination of ships fit with a 7-point ship in your list.
Can I comment on something here though with First Order?
Of course.
I noticed that they also tweaked the Upsilons, but I'm like.
Oh yeah,
why?
Dormance was a big winner.
Yeah.
He was not. He was at 9 points, which was laughable. But that he was somehow more than Silencer Kylo. But
right, so they lowered
an objective play, I guess. Right.
And then
it did mean a lot.
And Tabson got more loadout, but I just laughed because like it's not standard, and it was like, what? That was just like a call they made. Like they don't have any data. Like I mean, all that Upsilon, meta out there.
People aren't taking Tabson anymore.
Yeah, I
Maybe
wonder
we can
why.
increase his loadout. I was sure. I'm not spending 7 points for that ship, but well, Tabson's 8, so geez. Still more than Silencer Kylo. Buy Silencer Kylo is the point of that. Don't mess around with those Upsilons. Now, as far as losers go, very short list actually. Rebus did go up from their 2 points to a 3, which will now, unfortunately, might fade into obscurity for the FO fighters, which also RIP the 7 FO fighter list, because like I said before, you can only run 6 ships in this faction. The other one, to me personally, is Gideon Hask is a loser because he's no longer the cheapest size shuttle. Terex and Malorus went down to 4 points as well. So I think we'll actually be seeing a lot more Malorus if you want a Terex crew carrier. Which I think is very good. But overall, Hask did lose Pyre as well. So a lot of that combo is gone from most of the First Order list we have been seeing. But let's move on to, what was it? Ryan, you want to take Republic?
Yep, so Republic winners, the oddballs. Pretty much all of the oddballs went down in their squad cost or had their loadout increased, except the only one that didn't change is the V-Wing. Same squad of 4, same loadout of 12. But the Torrent, I believe, gained some loadout, and the Y-Wing and the ARC 170 decreased their costs. So Oddball Y-Wing at 4, Oddball ARC at 5, both still plenty of room to equip their proton torpedoes. After that, you had most Anakins, as in Delta 7B Anakin went from 8 to 7, which actually makes his 7B squad cost the same as Obi and Plo. It'd be hard to not take Anakin first now at I6.
Yep.
And then you also had N1 Anakin stayed the same, which is pretty good. The Ada Anakin went from 7 to 6. Granted, lost the auto blaster capability of those auto damage crits, but still decreasing its squad value to 6. And I think the only Anakin that didn't have too much fun was our CLT base Delta 7 Anakin, because he stayed the same cost at 6 and lost his missile slot, which transitions into our losers of the Republic, which is all the CLT Jedi that had either a missile slot or your name was Barriss Ophi, who was 3 points before and now is 4. Granted, Barriss is, I believe, the only 4-point CLT user that can take Chopper. Ahsoka lost that capability because she is now 7 loadout instead of, she had like 9, I think, before. So Barriss has assumed the mantle of, I am the cheapest CLT Jedi with Chopper carrying capability.
No, Chopper's only 8, right?
Chopper is 8.
The other 4-pointer can take her then.
Which
Luminar?
other?
No, Luminar's on
Windows?
7. Yeah.
And
Fair enough.
Sacy 10 is standard band.
Oh, that's, yeah. Well, there you go.
And then other losers are Adas in general. So it's weird. A lot of the Adas actually had an increase in their loadout, but also lost their crit generating capability, or not generating, their auto blaster tool. So while Marcel, I know it said before, Adas might be in a rough spot, and they could be. I think there's still a chance for them to have some play. It's just different. It's not going to be what it was before.
Before it was a sniper rifle. Now you got to find a different way to use it.
Oh, before it was like a stealthy shotgun.
Right, I guess that's better. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I'm going to sneak around you and go boom. And then the original 3-point N1 starfighters being Danae and Handmaidens going from 3 up to 4, which they got a lot of play early, but people transitioned away from them to more Jedi. Yeah. They still got the pain of being 4 points. Anyway.
All right, and last but not least, let's go ahead and hit the Separatists.
I'll go. So the winners are Vultures because a bunch of them got 2 points. And also, a lot of the 2-point ships, we didn't mention it, but they're not 0 loadout anymore. So
That's right. Yes.
All the TIE Fighters and the Vultures are 2 points with a loadout. 1 second. Are 2 points with a loadout. So that's a big change. The fire sprays, don't know why they went down in points, I assume.
They're just
Sam
going
was
down in
10
price.
to 9,
Yeah.
and Django was 9 to 8, and they mostly kept
8.
their loadout.
8 for Django, I think, is a steal.
Django.
I think Django at 8 sounds good. Yeah, especially if you've got a lot of. So you've got Django 8, Grievous 5. That leaves you
7.
enough for 7. So that's
and
3 more
that's-
ships.
That's CAD and a Vulture.
Or 3 more ships.
Or
Yeah.
it's
three vultures, one of them being a 3-pointer, yeah.
or if you want to go 3 ship, you could do Pre-Vizsla Gauntlet, or you could even
Oh,
do
jeez.
the now reduced Count Dooku Infiltrator.
Oh, that actually is not bad. So you'd get
Those are
Django,
chunky.
Grievous, and either a Gauntlet or an Infiltrator.
Yeah.
Very
yeah,
nice.
back to the double infiltrator Grievous style of play.
Yeah. Not bad at all. And the losers, you said probably too early. No, this is 100%.
It's a hot take.
Wi-
Hot
William
take from
speak
Will.
Here, so come on, take it, Will.
Hot take.
And no one actually
rogues.
went up in cost or anything. It's just,
No.
Will doesn't believe in rogues.
Prove me wrong, rogues. Prove me wrong.
I mean, so early thought, quick on that. I think some more rogues probably need to be 4 costs, but maybe like they lose one of their cannon slots, so like maybe they can do like specialty stuff like ion cannons or whatever. But I don't know. 5 is a lot to ask on a ship that can't generate a 4-die range 1 attack.
It is.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a much more conservative cost than I thought they were going to be on the onset, because that's usually, we don't usually see that. Usually they're priced to sell. Right.
On the flip side, I guess if we're doing winner/loser for the rogue, I think all the Z95s look pretty cool at their cost and points.
I look fair.
Boost is pretty neat with prockets.
Oh yeah.
So, are we in agreement that the Empire is probably the biggest overall winner and probably the
I mean, if you could stomach TIE fighters, yeah.
the number one Vader defender?
Yeah, that's my biggest concern. Is do I feel like I almost feel like right now I have to build every list I build has to now. You don't have to kill Defender
You have to
Vader.
survive him or scare him.
You have to survive him / scare him / be able to do objectives enough to overcome facing any level of Vader Defender plus stuff.
So what? So Vader Defender, obviously very good in chance engagement because it's good at murder. But I mean, outside of that, it Scramble the Transmissions because it's going to be high initiative and be able to do that.
High initiatives, free evade, and offensive modifications.
Right.
Also, let's note that Defender Vader gained a talent slot, and so did the X1 Vader. They didn't have talent before; they do now.
Wait, and it can do in the toe one. It can do the
white 4K.
The white 4K again. So
I still don't know if Vader's picking up that. He wants to boost and barrel quite often.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see.
William and I are both like that.
All right, everybody. Well, there's plenty of here to digest. We're going to come back next week. We didn't touch on the upgrade cards today, but we got plenty of games to play ahead of us. We'll keep digging into this, and we'll be back with you guys next week. Thanks for watching, everybody, and thank you again to the Midwest Scrubcast for inviting us down. We will be live next weekend from the Richmond Open. Will's going to be the captain on that ship, so make sure to tune in on Saturday and Sunday for that action. Everybody at home, be smart, be safe. Gold Squadron out.